Hello and welcome to We Learn, Virtual Learning Network. This is session number 22nd of the subject Modern Indian Political Thought, and the chapter is Introduction to Nationalism and Social Revolution, Socialism. Let's see the topics to be covered. Introduction, types of socialism, philosophy of socialism, objective conditions for the socialist movements in India, Jawaharlal Nehru and socialism, Subhash Chandra Bose and socialism, Acharya Narendra and socialism, Jayaprakash Narayan and socialism, Ram Manohar Lohia and socialism. Let's see the introduction. Socialism essentially deals with the principles which envisage the establishment of a society where all individuals enjoy equality in different walks of life, economic, political and social. Socialism basically deals with the principles where every individual enjoy equality in front of law, in the eyes of law, whether in all spheres of life, economic, political, social, etc. and envisaging a society where the means of production are in the hands of the state. Equality in the economic walk of life means the existence of an economic system where exploitation of one class or social group by another does not exist. It envisages the control of society or state or collectivization, socialization or nationalization of means of production in agriculture and industry, equitable distribution of the various goods and services, and the establishment of cooperative societies. It also says that control of society or state through the collectivization where every means and production are collectively owned. It is not in the hands of one individual or it is not in the hands of one group, but it is in the hands of the state, collectively owned, and nationalization of the means where the means of production in agriculture or industry are in the hands of the state. It is nationalized. There is equal distribution of the various goods and the services, and there are also small societies and small industries which individuals can rely upon. The types of socialism. Evolutionary socialism. There are basically two types of socialism, the Marxian or revolutionary socialism and evolutionary socialism. Evolutionary socialism has got different brands: utopian socialism, democratic socialism, parliamentary socialism, revisionism, Fabianism, social democracy, welfare socialism, and Eurocommunism. Marxian socialism holds that socialism can be brought about only by a violent revolution, that there are two societies and haves and have-nots, the rulers and the ruled. Rulers always exploit the ruled because they have the means of production with them. Only the ruled can only take the goods back into their hands only by waging a war, by waging a violent revolution. So after that, there would be the means of production would be in their hands and that would be delivered to the state, and after that there will be a classless and stateless society. So a violent revolution is the only solution for that. But evolutionary socialism says that slow, peaceful and gradual changes should be the norm, and the change should be brought by non-violent nature and by signing petitions and other processes and movements. Philosophy of socialism. Philosophy of socialism developed in the 19th century, although the ideas regarding socialism were propounded even before. For instance, the ideas of philosophers such as Rousseau, Morelli and Bebel propounded before the French Revolution formed important features of socialism as it came about later. So this was all about philosophy of socialism, which was developed in the 19th century. It was regarding socialism even propounded, and it was given by the various philosophers such as Rousseau, Morelli before the French Revolution. So utopian socialists. After the Industrial Revolution to 1760 to 1830, the condition of the workers worsened in European countries. The workers suffered from the different crises of capitalism. Their living conditions were miserable. There was massive unemployment, inflation, etc. So after the Industrial Revolution, the workers, they suffered from heavy crisis of capitalism where their living conditions were not proper, they were unemployed, the inflation was rising, and also the means of production, the wealth was in a certain group. The means of production was owned by a certain group or by a certain class, and this was known as capitalism. So they were living in a miserable condition. And after that, the utopian socialists envisaged a society where there would be no differences, no differentiation, and there would be no unemployment or inflation, and there would be complete nationalization of the goods and services, and the people would be living free from fear and free from discrimination. Philosophy of socialism, influence of utopian socialism. Utopian socialism, however, influenced the French and German socialists on the one hand and Marx and Engels on the other. Blank 1813 to 1882, a reformer and a scholar, gave the economic principle from each according to his ability and to each according to his work. It means that every person should be given the rewards as well as the fruits in accordance with his or her ability and to each according to his work. What the kind of work the person does, the kind of output the person gives, fruits and the reward should be based upon that and for also based upon his or her ability. German social democracy. In the 1860s, the phenomenon of German social democracy assumed considerable significance. Lassalle, 1825 to 1864, was one of the early German social democrats. Jawaharlal Nehru and socialism. Within the Congress, the opinion was divided on the goal and purpose of the freedom movement and on alternative social and economic system after independence. So within the Congress, the opinion was divided on what would be the goal and what would be the purpose of the freedom movement and on what would be the alternative social and economic system after the independence. There were differences between Nehru and Gandhi on these issues. There were differences between these two freedom fighters. Nehru wanted the country to accept socialism after independence. So he wanted that the country to accept socialism, to give the means of production to the state after gaining independence. He declared himself a socialist and republican at the Lahore session of Congress in December 1929. The session was preceded by his visit to the Soviet Union in 1926 to 1927. So he declared himself a socialist who considers the state to be important, who considers the state, the socialization wherein the state would be taking care of the needs and requirements of the people and the means of production would be in the hands of the state. Jawaharlal Nehru and socialism. Nehru's criticism of Marxism. Although in principle Nehru accepted Marxism, he was critical of the methods employed by them. He criticized the communists for developing contacts with only the workers who stayed in the cities and not with those in the villages. So he was critical of the violent methods employed by Marxism and Marx as well as the people there, and the violent method, the extremist method, the revolution, the war, everything. He was critical of the methods employed and also for developing contacts for the workers only in the villages and for not maintaining contacts he maintained contacts only for the workers who stayed in the cities and for not the workers who stayed in the villages. So it was not, the contacts were not made with the villager workers but only with the workers who stayed in the cities. So this was unequal and this was not fair according to Nehru. Nehru and socialists, he was not satisfied with the way the CSP functioned. He was of the view that the socialists, like the communists, had failed to adapt socialism to Indian conditions. So socialism was not adopted as such as the Indian conditions permitted. So he was of the view that socialists had failed to adapt socialism to Indian conditions and circumstances. Influence on Nehru's brand of socialism. Nehru's socialism was influenced by both Marxism and Gandhism. The Gandhian influence diluted socialism. He did not leave Congress to join the CSP despite his ideological closeness to them because he wanted to transform Congress on socialist lines. So Gandhi did not leave Congress He did not resign from there because he wanted to transform Congress on socialist lines, to give it a more socialistic character, to give it a more approach and outlook of the state ownership as well as the socialist lines. On land reforms and like matters, land to the tiller without paying compensation to the landlords, nationalization of industries and services formed very important tenets of Nehru's socialistic ideas. This is what he said, that land to the tiller. Compensation should be paid to the landlords and land should be taken. Nationalization of industries should be there, as well as the services. The industries, the control of the industries and services, major services and industries should be in the hands of the nation, should be in the hands of the state. And these were the very important ideas of Nehru's socialism. Subhash Chandra Bose and socialism. Different activities of Bose. His leftism had three phases. In the late 1920s, it was marked by his opposition to the Dominion states. In the 30s, he wanted the end of imperialism, and after independence, he wanted the socialist phase of movement to begin. So Bose wanted that after independence, the socialist phase where the state would collect the means of production from the people, that phase or that movement should begin, should start. Bose's philosophy, he favored the establishment of a socialist society or reconstruction of the Indian society on a socialistic pattern, where the society would be reconstructed and it would be established on the socialistic pattern, on the state ownership of goods and services. He started his political career as a spiritual leader, but in course of time shifted to political realism. Subhash Chandra Bose started his political career as a spiritual leader, as a religious leader, but in course of time he shifted to political realism, where he involved himself in political activities and affairs. And he also reconstructed the Indian society. He wanted to reconstruct the Indian society based upon the socialistic ideas and patterns. Agenda set forth by Bose, he pleaded for the eradication of poverty, abolition of landlordism, liquidation of the agricultural indebtedness, incorporating scientific techniques in agriculture, extension of cooperative movement, industrial development under state ownership and state control, planning commission and socialization on control and distribution of production in agriculture and industry. So Subhash Chandra Bose pleaded for that poverty, landlordism, that should be eradicated. There should be liquidation of the agricultural indebtedness. Whatever in debt were there should be liquidation of that, and there should be more innovative and scientific techniques should be incorporated in farming and agriculture. There would be cooperative movement, extension of the cooperative movement, industrial development under state ownership. Under the state production or under the state ownership, there should be the development of the industries, and there should be state control over the industries, and also planning commission and socialization on control. There should be socialization on control, and planning commission should be set up, and there should be distribution of production in agriculture and industry. In agriculture as well as industry, there should be distribution of goods and services. Acharya Narendra Dev and socialism. Philosophy and activities of Acharya. He began his political career as a believer in their philosophy. He was influenced by Marxism. So Acharya was influenced by Marxism. He believed in the principles of dialectics. He believed in the principle of dialectics, that from the very history, the society is divided into two classes. Always the society is divided into two classes, and it will be continued till and unless a revolution is not launched. He was opposed to the utopian socialism or social reformism. He said that society cannot be reformed unless and until there is a revolution, and utopian socialism concept of imagination where there would be people free from inequality and discrimination, that kind of socialism does not exist. He believed that the establishment of scientific socialism would be the solution to India's problems. He said that Marx was a humanist. So this is what was said to Marx, that he was a humanist and he believed in a scientific socialism. Scientific socialism means wherein a revolution would be brought, or wherein a new technique of production would be there, that would be the solution to India's problems. He was opposed to the state's bureaucratic interference. He was an exponent of democratic socialism. He did not like the state's bureaucratic nature or bureaucratic interference in the life or the affairs of the society. He said that there should be democratic socialism where there would be rights given to every person, rights given to the people, and everyone would enjoy freedom and equality. Narendra Dev on agrarian reconstruction. Acharya Narendra Dev favored agrarian reconstruction in India. He emphasized he need to make the people literate and ideologically conscious. He said that the problems of the peasantry should not be reduced to mere peasantism. They should be placed in the context of the entire economy. The problems faced by the peasants, the farmers class, the bourgeoisie class, that should be placed in the center of the entire economy so that everyone should come to know about the problems faced by them. Acharya and the New Left movement. He advocated some kind of a new left movement in the villages. He said that Marx was a humanist. He cared for the people. He emphasized the humanist foundations of socialism. He emphasized that all human beings are equal and that should be incorporated in socialism. Jayaprakash Narayan on socialism. Jayaprakash Narayan, 1902 to 1979, was the main force behind the formation of the Congress Socialist Party in 1934. He began his political career as a participant in the non-cooperation movement. So he started his political career with the non-cooperation movement participant. Socialism and socio-economic construction. Jayaprakash Narayan regarded socialism as a complete theory on socio-economic construction. So J.P. Narayan regarded socialism as a complete theory where socio-economic construction would be made, society would be constructed, and economic entities would be constructed. He did not agree with the theory that men are biologically unequal. He did not agree that men are biologically unequal or anything like that. He said that the inequality in society exists due to the disproportionate control of the means of production. When the means of production are in the hands of the state, only then there is inequality in society, or when there is any kind of inequality in society that happens due to the disproportionate control of the means of production. When there is control of the means of production in the hands of men, only then it creates inequality in society. Ram Manohar Lohia and socialism. Post-independence period, he was active in bringing about the Asian Socialist Conference of 1953. He stood for combining the principles of socialism with those of Gandhism. Ram Manohar Lohia stood for combining the principles of socialism with Gandhism. He laid emphasis on adapting socialism to the specifics of the Indian society. So he wanted that socialism should be adapted to the Indian society's conditions. In 1952, he pleaded for greater incorporation of Gandhian ideas in socialist thought. He pleaded for that Gandhian ideas should be incorporated in the socialist thought and conditions. He advocated decentralization of the economy based on the revival of the cottage industries, that the authority should not be centralized on one particular entity. There should be decentralization. Everyone should get the authority to do the work, and also the cottage industries should be revived. It should be given a new outlook and they should be given more work. He preferred small machines to big machines in the economy of the country. So small machines were better according to Ram Manohar Lohia. That's all we have in this session for you. So it was all about Gandhi's ideas, Marx, Gandhi, as well as Ram Manohar Lohia. So these are some of the questions. You have to do it yourself. Question number 1, comment on socialism's basic philosophy. Question number 2, compare Acharya Narendra Dev and Jayaprakash Narayan's views on socialism. Thank you. Happy learning. We learning.